You know, what we do is certainly a high-risk job. My job here as a range, or as a physical instructor in the airplane, or as a flight lead with young aircrew as they're going through, and that is to give them the tools to ensure that they survive in combat.
All of that stuff translates perfectly to when it's real combat, and weapons have to come off the airplane on the first pass and they have to be right. And so it's a perfect translation to be able to do it here on a range in a simulated environment where we can still be safe, and if things aren't working out right, we can just knock it off. And we came out here for Green Flag West and some time out here on the range before we deployed to Afghanistan. And during that time out here on the range, I had two different events that later just basically sparked a muscle memory for me while I was in Afghanistan. So one of those events was just dropping a 500-pound class weapon. That was a GBU-12 specifically that time, but going through the mech and being very rushed and trying to get the delivery perfect was a perfect translation to my very first combat drop in Afghanistan. And so we were able to do that because we had had that training here, so that everything that we did here, practicing with a GBU-12, worked out the exact same when it was time to go with a GBU-54 down in combat. That's the number one priority of my job, is making sure that CAF doesn't affect friendly forces and that the target they're supposed to strike gets struck.
Ranges are important because they give us the ability to fundamentally train, so get the fundamentals of how to utilize CAS.
Elevation.
And actually talking to real pilots. It takes you out of a simulated environment and puts you in a real environment. We absolutely need that capability to go out and employ live weapons on a range with JTACs and get through those steps in a real airborne environment with live weapons before we ever try to do that in combat.